Happy Easter. Well, today is Good Friday, and it's the day we celebrate our Saviour's work on the cross. And in the Gospel of Matthew, we read about the events of the cross, and in his account, we see these events of that first Good Friday laced with irony. And I want to read from Matthew 27, verses 35 to 44. And when they had crucified him, they divided his garments among them by casting lots. Then they sat down and kept watch over him there. And over his head they put the charge against him, which read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Then 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads and saying, "You who would destroy the temple, rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." So also the chief priests with the scribes and elders mocked him, saying, "He saved others. He cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now, if he desires him. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" And the robbers who were crucified with him also reviled him in the same way. The soldiers around the cross mocked Jesus as the King of the Jews. A sign was nailed above his head on the cross, proclaiming him as King of the Jews. But the irony here is that although the soldiers mocked him as the King of the Jews, Jesus is the King of the Jews. Jesus, who was mocked as King, is the King. Is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he holds and affords the highest position in all of creation. But then comes the mockery. "You who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself." You who talked about the amazing power that would enable you to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, use that power to save yourself. Here is the irony. The mockers think that they are witty and funny as they mock Jesus' claims and laugh at his utter weakness. But the deeper irony is that by staying on the cross in this powerless state, that Jesus establishes himself as the temple being destroyed, only for 3 days later to rebuild it in glorious resurrection power. The only way Jesus will save his people is by hanging on the cross in utter powerlessness. The mockery continues. "He saved others. Let him come down from the cross. We will believe in his claims if he can come down from the cross." But the only way he could save himself was by not saving others. He could have saved himself, but I'm so grateful that he didn't. Earlier in Gethsemane, he prays to the Father to ask if the cup could be removed, but he concludes, "Not my will, but yours be done." You see, it wasn't the nails that held him here. It was his love for his Father's will and his love for sinners like you and me that held him there. And we rejoice this morning that he did not come down from the cross to save himself, but instead he finished God's wonderful plan of salvation upon that cruel cross. The chief priests, the teachers of the law, the elders continued to mock him. They said, "He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now." Once again, they were using sarcastic, ironic humour to humiliate Jesus. When they said he trusts in God, what they really mean is that his trust could not have been real, for he's been abandoned by God. But then we see in verse 46, Jesus cries out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And as A.W. Pink says, this was a cry of distress, but not a cry of distrust. Erwin Lutzer writes, "This son had been the object of the Father's love from all eternity. The Father's presence was his only delight. The hiding of the Father's face was the most bitter sip of the cup of sorrow he chose to drink. To drink the cup was awful enough, but to drink it without the Father's presence just magnified the horror." Jesus, who cries out in despair, completely trusts God and ensures that we will never have to cry out in the same way. He was forsaken by God so that we might be accepted by God. I want to conclude with the words of Charles Wesley. And can it be that I should gain an interest in the Saviour's blood? Died he for me, who caused his pain, for me, who him to death pursued. Amazing. How can it be that thou, my God, shouldst die?